Good afternoon. It is officially afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, the Solarize webinar that Granite State Solar, us, are doing together here today. And so my name is Jane Stromberg, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for Granite State Solar, and I'm joined here today with Eric Killens, our Senior Solar Advisor. We have a presentation today that will delve into how solar works, the type of systems that we install, the products we use and offer, net metering, and of course, battery backup. We just ask that questions are held until the end, which is when the floor is fully open for questions, and we're happy to address anything that you want to bring up with us. So without further ado, let's hop in and let me tell you a little bit about who we are. So, we are a local company based out of Bow, New Hampshire. We install solar installations in about a 2-hour radius of our Bow office. We're going on about 14 years in the industry. And I did want to mention, like I did at the top of the hour, we do have a sister company called Green Mountain Solar in Vermont. They are based in Williston. So if you have any questions on the Vermont side of things, do not hesitate to ask. We are here for you. We are a very small solar company, or growing. We have grown quite a bit, and we're very customer oriented, where customer care and satisfaction are our greatest priorities. For instance, all of our installations are completed by us. We do not subcontract, and therefore we have a very high standard of quality control and consistency throughout all of our installations. At Granite State Solar, we believe in making solar as accessible and affordable as humanly possible. So we've partnered with a local credit union that offers different financing options for folks. And regardless if you're paying everything up front or financing your system, it's good to know that what you are paying for is quality and industry proven products. Eric will get into the specifics of those shortly. But first, I do want to delve into what solar actually is and how it works, because that's pretty important. So the most common system and the type that we install is the photovoltaic system, solar PV. What happens in this is that the sun hits the panels, which you can see here, which are comprised of photovoltaic cells. And when the rays hit those cells, they vibrate. That vibration produces direct current, DC electricity. But interestingly, none of our household appliances and uses utilize DC electricity. And the reason behind that is because bringing in such a high voltage into a home really isn't safe, and it is more difficult to distribute over distances without losses, therefore obviously less efficient. So we need a translator to convert the DC electricity to AC electricity, which is alternating current, which is way more useful for our everyday purposes. This translator is called an inverter. Inverters are the literal magic behind a solar system. I love doing this analogy, but if you think about 8th grade biology class, the mitochondria of the cell was the powerhouse of the cell, right? There were so many other parts to the cell, but the mitochondria really was doing a lot of the work, most of the work. And so I like to think of the inverter as that for a solar system. Once the power leaves the inverter, though, it has a decision to make once it gets to the meter. Do you go back out to the grid, or are you going into the home to meet demand? So are you using it for your household, or is your solar that you're generating that excess energy of going out to the utility via the grid? And when you're not capturing the solar energy, like at night or during a snowstorm, but need the energy to meet household demand, are you going to pull on those credits? And this is a concept called net metering, which we will explain in greater detail and answer any questions about later in the presentation. And those credits, by the way, are what you rack up with the utility when you are generating that excess energy. So essentially, you're producing all the electricity, not the utility company, which is just so cool in its own way. So anyway, if you're just tuning into this presentation, and if you're just tuning into anything solar related for the first time, and you understand the basics of this PV system, you, my friend, understand solar. So I'm just going to kick it on over to Eric, who's going to talk about some of the systems that we offer.
Thanks, Jane. That was a really good explanation of how a grid-tied solar system works. Now, there are three different types of solar systems out there. I would say the majority of the ones that we install, or almost all of them that we install, are the grid connected, meaning that the solar power is connected to the utility side of the grid, and there is simply no batteries involved with that system. You're purely just grid tied. The other type of system that we install, that's getting more and more common, is having a grid tied solar system with a battery backup. So with this system, you're still going to be connected to the utility, but if you lose utility power during, say, a power outage, your solar panels can continue to produce when you have a battery. And that battery is going to act as a generator. So that battery is going to give you backup power during nighttime. But on a nice sunny day like today, if you had a battery and you lost power at the street, your solar panels could continue to produce power to feed your house and also recharge the batteries if necessary. The last system is off-grid. We don't do a whole lot of off-grid. I can actually say we haven't really done one installation for an off-grid application. Almost all of our systems are grid tied, but if a customer really wants an off-grid system, we could look into that. In terms of the types of systems that are out there, there's two types that we do. We do your traditional rooftop system, where we put the panels on the roof. We want to, when we're doing a rooftop system, we are looking at finding roofs that not only are sunny, that get lots of sunshine, but we also want to pay attention to the direction the roof faces. So we want to mount solar panels on a south-facing roof surface. You never want to put panels on the north side of a roof. To reap the best benefits of your investment, it's wise to put your panels facing south. That's going to yield the best energy production for you and ultimately the highest return on investment for you as well. Now, we mount solar panels on a variety of roof surfaces, ranging from asphalt shingle that you see here in this picture to standing seam metal, to corrugated metal, even to now the ever more popular metal shingles. We've seen more and more of those roofs pop up. So our mounting hardware and brackets can really mount to any type of roof surface. We also install on the ground. So like you see here, if your roof isn't facing south, then say you have your house is surrounded by trees, but you have a nice sunny spot in your yard somewhere, we would want to look at maybe doing a ground mount system. Because what Granite State Solar does is, we want to methodically design the system for you that's going to yield the most amount of energy production and allow the homeowner to see the quickest return on investment for them. So for products, panels, we sell two main types of panels right now. We sell an LG panel, which is made in South Korea. And we also now are offering an REC panel that is made in Singapore. Both of these panels offer really high efficiencies, really high output in watts, and offer tremendous warranties as well. Granite State Solar, we think of the products that we offer as, we want to make sure that the customer is getting a good quality product that's going to stand the test of time. And, because solar is a long-term investment. We're not going to offer our customers cheap quality stuff, because we know that this is a big upfront cost for the homeowner. We want to make sure that it's performing well for them for at least the first 25 years and well beyond that. So those for the panels, those are our two offerings. We do also offer an N phase for our microinverters. So as Jane was mentioning, the panels produce DC power, which is direct current, and that power has to get converted over to AC power, and alternating current. So our systems use a microinverter on the back of each panel. So it's module level. So Enphase is the manufacturer of the microinverter. And then for battery backup storage systems, we sell the Enphase N-Charge battery storage system for homeowners that don't have a generator but want some type of backup power source to use when the power goes out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eric. So the advantages of going solar, right? That's a big conversation, and homes and businesses aren't going solar for no reason. Solar helps offset or reduce electric bills for your home or business. And the best part is that when rates inevitably increase on the electricity cost side, the rates that you have when you go solar are locked in. So you have that security and stability of never having to deal with future energy price fluctuation. Which is awesome. Solar pairs also very well with other means of efficiency like heat pumps. Those are increasingly more and more popular these days because they run on electricity, unlike traditional furnaces running on propane or oil or what have you, which are expensive and outdated fuel sources. So overall, heat pumps decrease the carbon footprint, and yeah, it's a lot cleaner. It's a really efficient closed loop system. So moving on to our solar panels themselves, they are warranted for 25 years, but I like to remind folks that that certainly does not mean that they crap out after or at year 25, right? So you can rest assured that you'll have guaranteed savings for at least 25 years, which is a really great chunk of time. And if you look at the latest studies on a lot of the more efficient panels that folks are installing these days, they last well beyond 25 years with minor or limited maintenance. So, in terms of the environment, solar energy is abundant and infinite for at least the next several billion years until the sun runs out of hydrogen. And that is what is inherently making solar energy so sustainable. Even compared to other forms of renewables, it does not impact ecosystems, and solar has no moving parts, so maintenance is quite efficient because there hardly is any if you really look at it. And then jumping right back to money, regardless of the age of your home, it is honestly a fantastic home improvement and a long-lasting one. So also, if you're going to go sell your home, you can imagine that it is much easier to do so when there is a low or even no electric bill coming with that sale. I also like to look at it as this investment scenario, right? So of rent versus mortgage. I'm a renter. I rent every month, and my rent money just kind of flies out the window, right? I'm not investing in anything in particular with that rent money. But when you have a mortgage, a homeowner, they're investing towards that house. That money is going literally toward paying for that house. And so it's kind of like that difference of, your electric bill, it's kind of money out the window, but solar, that's like a long-term healthy investment for your home or business. So it's really a quantitative value when you look at it. And yeah, it with that added benefit of increasing your home's resale value. So who can say no to that, right? So those are definitely some of the advantages of going solar. There are also some economic benefits of going solar on the local level. One thing I love to point out is the electric grid. And the reason for this is that the electric grid is a huge part of all of our lives, right? And the less demand on the energy grid that, we can ask for, the better. So if you're not utilizing the grid, you're not losing any efficiencies in terms of energy transmission. So the less distance energy has to travel, the better. So if you can imagine that your solar isn't, it's on your yard or on your roof or just that local to where the use is taking place, you're in really good shape in terms of that energy efficiency because it is being generated where it is going to be used. There is no loss of efficiency there. During peak demand hours, which is usually 5 to 8 p.m. On weeknights, and especially in the heat of summer when folks are cranking their ACs, the grid is trying to meet all of that demand. And to do so, the more and more fossil fuel plants and energy come into play. This energy is obviously dirtier and more expensive. So having the ability to offset that is absolutely fantastic. That's something that's going to benefit our environmental health, our ecosystems, the air pollution in other parts of the world. I know in New Hampshire we have clean air here and we take pride in that, but we want to be aware of what we're doing to other parts of the world, and to offset that is a really, really awesome and fortunate situation to be in. Another thing I want to focus on is the ITC, the income tax credit. It's currently at 26%. That's something a lot of folks can take advantage of and actually make solar really affordable. So that's something we can answer questions about at the end too. I'm really happy to delve into that. Another awesome economic local benefit is keeping money in the state of New Hampshire. Simply, the more you produce at a local level, the less is purchased from out of state and even out of the country, right? So that's honestly just good for our economy and keeping our state strong in that realm. So I think we all love that idea. And then in terms of net metering really helps make solar possible for folks. And this is something that Eric can certainly delve into. So I'm just going to hand it on over to him.
Cool. Thanks, Jane. So with net metering in New Hampshire, what happens is the utility company, once your solar is installed, will install a net meter, and that meter is going to spin backwards and forwards. Because if you don't have solar, the meter that you have with the utility company only spins in one direction. It spins forwards, keeping track of the amount of electricity that the home is purchasing from the grid. With the net meter, that meter is going to spin, like I said, backwards and forwards. So on a nice sunny day like today, where your solar system is producing excess power, it's producing more power than what the house is needing, the excess power will go back out to the grid, and the power will be sold to the utility company, and that's when the meter will spin backwards. And then come nightfall, when your solar panels aren't producing, but your house is still demanding energy, the meter will spin forwards, and you're going to be purchasing power from the grid. So on a net meter, there's going to be two screens. There's going to be one screen showing the amount of kilowatt hours that you have purchased from the grid, and then another screen showing the amount of kilowatt hours that you sold to the grid. So once a month, just like the utility does, they will come out and read the meter, and they will see how many kilowatt hours you've purchased, how many kilowatt hours you've sold, and they're going to bill you accordingly. The interesting and fun fact is that net metering, for it to work, for a customer to zero out their electric bill for the year, their systems need to overproduce in the spring and summer to build up this large credit of surplus power. So most solar systems from the month of April to the month of October, if sized correctly, are overproducing every month. So come November, a customer who has solar will see that their electric bill has a negative $400 balance. And that balance shows all of the credits that they built up for the spring and the summertime. Then in the fall and the winter, their system will actually be underproducing each month. But the nice thing is that the homeowner won't see an electric bill, because they're going to be pulling away from the credits that they built up in the spring and summer. So come the following April, they'll see that their electric bill is down to a 0 credit, balance, and then that cycle will just repeat itself all over again.
Hey, Eric, this is Joe Cubitt. Could you go back to that slide for a second? Could you, this bullet point number 2, that doesn't look like it's an Eversource way of doing things. Is that from a different utility?
So Joe,
Yeah.
what you're referring, no, Eversource does do it that way, but you are interconnected with Eversource. You are under the standard net metering versus alternative net metering.
Yeah, so what's this additional 2 cents per kilowatt though? What's that about?
So the standard net metering, which is what you are being billed at, is that when you send a kilowatt hour out to the grid, they pay you for that full kilowatt hour. The alternative net metering is where when you export a kilowatt hour out to the grid, the utility will pay you slightly less than the full retail rate of power. So given current electric rates right now, the full retail rate of power is about 16 cents a kilowatt hour. Under the alternative net metering, customers get paid for their excess power at about 11 cents. So,
okay, so what's this wording here? Is that utility will pay you an additional 2 cents per kilowatt produced? What's that?
I am not sure. I think that might be incorrect wording on that slide.
Okay. Also, isn't it true that the standard way of doing it, which is basically a kilowatt per kilowatt swap, is an old way of doing it, and people are not getting that if they sign up now for a new system, correct?
Yep, that's what I was just mentioning, is that
Okay.
you are under the standard net metering tariff, whereas there is a new alternative net metering tariff that customers that are getting interconnected to the grid right now fall under.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So this slide essentially summarizes what we were talking about with net metering and building up credits in the spring and the summer, and then pulling from those credits in the fall and the winter time. So maybe we'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to read that, or we can go to the next one.
I'll stay on it for a few seconds. We can always go back to. And again, we're more than happy to answer any and all questions at the end of this. We have quite a few minutes after.
All right, so the new and upcoming thing right now is energy storage. Batteries have become extremely popular in the last, I would say, 6 months. I've been with Granite State Solar since 2015, and I've never seen the demand of batteries be so strong for where they are right now. So batteries are, like we've said in the beginning of this presentation, going to give you backup power for power outages. So they're going to act as a generator source. But now, more importantly, for these new alternative net metering customers, is that batteries will allow you to use them for self-consumption. So what that means is, instead of sending your excess power back to the grid and selling it to the utility at a lower cost, a battery storage system will actually allow you to send that excess power into the battery, so then you can use that power later, say at nighttime. So when you're using a battery in self-consumption mode, your system is kind of acting as an off-grid system. So when nightfall happens, instead of pulling power from the grid, you would pull power from your battery. But if, say, at 2 in the morning, your house was using a lot of power during the night, and you fully discharged your battery, then you'd be pulling power from the grid at that point if your batteries have been fully depleted. So batteries have significant advantages over a generator. There's no maintenance cost with a battery. With the generator, you obviously have to refuel it with gas if you have a portable one, or even if you have a whole house standby generator. Every year you're supposed to at least change the oil in it. They always kick on like once or twice a week to just make sure that they're actually going to be running for you. They're noisy and loud. with a battery. They go in your basement typically. They're completely silent, and they act just like a generator where they will automatically kick on when power's been lost.
Alrighty, that brings us to the end of our presentation, and we are open to any and all questions, folks.